them with a standard in the US or in the UK, as the case may be. But what eventually happens is that they're able to pace the development of those children at the end of the day. So that's what has been found. But if you allow me to just talk a bit about, because the question is that, so what do parents start to do? I mean, because we seem to be in their situation. So some parents have taken their children to private school, some people are doing homeschool. I think one of the things that becomes very important, because if I homeschool my child, I'm settling my child's problem. Yeah. It's not society's problem.
No.
One of the things we need to start to do is that we need to agree as a nation we're in a dire situation with respect to education. 1951, some young guys gathered in Owo and said if they had power, they would influence education and change it. 1952, they got power, became premiers of Western Nigeria. 1955, they introduced free education. And that was ranked in 1960 as the most radical change in education. But it was because they gathered and adopted it. The next time this country gathered to talk about education was in the 1970s. The next time we gathered was in the 1980s and produced the education policy in 1984. Since that time, we have been reviewing that policy. So we need to accept that. The acting president released 3 presidential orders around ease of doing business, which shows the importance. There has not been one single presidential order on education. We have a professor as an acting president. And the challenge is that if we don't do it, the problem is business will not be easy when education is not easy.
We have to go, so we need closing moments right now. See how time flies. We've just started the conversation, we have to go. So, Mr. Salako, your closing thoughts.
Education makes man easy to lead, but difficult to rule. Easy to govern, but impossible to enslave. If our leaders are looking for Nigerians they can easily govern, law-abiding Nigerians, civil Nigerians, properly orientated Nigerians, then they should pay attention on education and celebrating children who are interested in being educated and not entertainers alone. The Nigerian system is celebrating only children who can sing, who can dance, who can act, who can rap. Lagos at 50. There were some signposts that were, placed around to celebrate people. None of the personalities was about any of our children or our graduates that excelled. Yeah. There is this guy who got about 5.0 GPA in UNILAG. His personality was not there. His name was not there. But I saw Jumoke, the bread girl. I saw a lot of artists, a lot of people. So, for as long as we continue to concentrate on celebrating people who are not going to benefit the future of Nigeria like that, education is the only phenomenon that the future of Nigeria looks up to. And for as long as we continue to celebrate only children who can sing, who can act, then our children will be they will be growing up to become DJs, to become pop stars and all that. With all their educations, they will still grow up to become a problem to our society or entertainers.
Okay. Mr. Onoja, your closing thoughts, please.
Yes, thank you very much. What I would like to say at this point is to make an appeal to all the stakeholders involved. Education is key for the development and growth of this nation. The current trend of just westernizing and not having proper education, where most of our schools these days are just churning out half-baked illiterates, it's something that will negatively affect this nation in the long run. And I want to appeal to all the stakeholders involved that this is the time for us to come together and properly invest in the education of our children and in the future of our nation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Fayemi.
Yeah, just to say, the World Economic Forum ranks competitiveness, and there's a group for primary education and primary health. Nigeria was the worst 3 years ago. The last year when the ranking was done, Nigeria was still the worst. Back to back, we were the worst in the world. In that same ranking, Nigeria was also ranked for ease of doing business. The question to ask is, why do we suddenly put priority around there and forget where we were last? The challenge we have with education is the fact that we seem to believe that we can do without it. But the most realistic fact is that we can't do without improving education. One of the things that have become current in this regime is we have had a lot of discussion around diversifying the economy. And people have said we should go to Agric, we should go here. Have you ever heard anybody say we should go to education? The second highest income foreign exchange earner for Australia is education.
Yeah.
The question is, there are countries today in the world that are making education an institution. You remember when our former CBN governor said the amount Nigerians spend on education in Ghana is more than the budget of the federal universities. So we can agree to make education a priority as a country. Unfortunately, and very unfortunately, the Nigerian education policy puts the responsibility for determining national policy of education on the Federal Ministry of Education. And as long as that sector does not rise up to the demands, we'll keep being the problem. The last point I wanted to make is the fact that educated people, educated mothers, educated girls have been shown to be the greatest determinants of the success of a nation. Educated girl, educated mother, you educate a society. So not only are we talking about education, emphasis on educating everyone to make a difference in our land.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We've run completely out of time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yomifayemi Salako, and from our Abuja studio, Lawrence Anojesh. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Sunrise will be back for the home stretch. Please don't go away.